right, everyone, it's noon. Warren County Commissioners meeting will begin. I'm sorry, the Warren County public hearing is first, isn't it? So if you take a look at that, you would like to call this meeting to order. Just note this is recorded. There's one item from a public hearing perspective on the agenda, which is review of projects for 2023 CDBG funding. I think we talked about this a little bit at the work session, but would you like to just do a quick summary for us?
Absolutely. So we had 3 projects solicited or brought to us for the CDBG funding, 2 in Clarendon, 1 in TDU. TDU's project is a stormwater installation on Sheridan Street. I did get the estimate from the engineer from them yesterday, and that number is $376,370. We kind of figured that would be because there's no existing stormwater system, so this is a complete installation, which would make this a multi-year project if we select this one. Also, for the High Street in Clarendon, which is a stormwater as well, it's a half a street. I originally thought the estimate was $200,000. It is actually $107,650. So it's a little bit less, but it's still a preliminary cost estimate. And then the third project was in Clarendon, and that is the sidewalk and curbing of Center Street. But as mentioned, we found some funding in other fiscal years that we believe we'll be able to fund that without an additional application, so it's no longer needed to be considered. I did talk to the borough manager of TDU as well. The borough is very excited about this project, and they don't feel there's any other funding sources to be able to accomplish such a large project. And as Sheridan Street runs into Main Street, as well as the borough building, it is, in my opinion, that this would be our best option to fund, to get some funding to them to start seeing some infrastructure improvements in their municipality.
Thank you very much. Nothing else on the agenda? Any public comment related to this public hearing? If not, I'm going to get a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor signify by saying aye. All right. Now we'll move into the Warren County Commissioners meeting. If everyone would please stand, pledge allegiance, and then followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements here. The first is that this meeting will be recorded. The number of executive sessions held since last meeting was 1. We do have some correspondence received. 2 items of correspondence. The first, we were CC'd on a letter to the Bureau of Emergency Medical Services Director from the city regarding response in Youngsville. The second, also letter to Youngsville Borough related to invoicing and non-mutual aid ambulance services. And we'll move to the next segment. Is there any public comment? All right, we'll then move on to the consent agenda. The minutes of the last meeting are in your packet. Just to take a look and see if there are any changes or modifications that we need as part of the consent agenda. And the next item is a finance report. Lisa, would you share with us the finance report, please?
Yes, thank you. We have $3,279,136 in all of our funds. $1,500,000 of that is general fund monies that encompass all of our departments. I've met with about 8 departments on the budget process, and we're looking forward to our hearings at the end of the month.
Hearings at the end of the month for a budget for 2024. Very good. The HR report is in your packet. Any comments or questions on that? And then just looking through the monthly department reports, I just highlight a few things. 1, we're up 38 voters, registered voters from June's report. So as we move towards election season, that's good news. And looks like our Warren County Public Safety is working with PEMA on their next generation 911 rollout for Warren and Forest counties. Tax claim, in August of 2022, we had 308 receipts, and this month we have 334, so that's great. Planning and zoning, The Warren County Comprehensive Plan, which we've been working on for a very long time, is expected to be adopted by us at the next meeting, September 27th. So the next item on our agenda is proclamations, and the first would be National Disability Voter Registration Week. Commissioner Eggleston, would you be willing to speak to that?
Absolutely. September 18th through 22nd is National Disability Voter Registration Week. People with disabilities and their supporters celebrate the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act in July. And there are over 50 million people with disabilities of all ages living in communities throughout the United States. The disability community has a critical interest in policies enacted at local, state, and national levels that affect the integrity of people with disabilities, young and old, in our communities. Getting the disability community involved in influencing public policies is essential if these policies are to meet the real needs of people with disabilities to live in the community. Voting is one way for the disability community to exert their influence at local, state, and national elections. There are multiple efforts to develop state disability coalitions around the issue of voting. Members of the National Disability Rights Community are organizing a National Disability Voter Registration Week, September 18th through 22nd. And the leadership of Warren County would like to designate the week of September 12th through 16th as, is it right, 12th through 16th? As National, we have 18th through 22nd as National Disability Voter Registration Week. And obviously, like the commissioners being on the election board, and then also try to advocate for, fair and free elections. We want to see everybody vote that could possibly vote, and so we do everything we can to get machines that will enable it be as able for as many people to utilize them as possible and make our voting locations as accessible as we can. And very excited about National Disability Voter Registration.
Thank you. And the next one, proclamation, is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Commissioner Kaufman, could you speak to that one, please?
Related to that, the county government is committed to promoting workplaces that welcome people of all talents, including people with disabilities, as they are part of a critical component of the workforce. And in that spirit, the Warren County Commissioners would like to declare October 2023 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month. We call upon employers, schools, and other community organizations to observe the month with appropriate programs and activities and advance the important message that people with disabilities are equal to the task.
Thank you. And then the last proclamation is the Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is on the month of October. We state that domestic violence is a crime that is perpetrated against people of every age, sex, race, and income. In 2021, A Safe Place provided 207 days of shelter to 8 adult victims and 16 children of domestic violence. In the Commonwealth, 112 people were killed as a result of domestic violence. Women, men, and children deserve safe, healthy relationships free of physical, emotional, sexual, and financial abuse. There is a 24-hour toll-free hotline. In that hotline, A Safe Place answered 469 domestic violence-related calls, and we're able to provide domestic violence victims to life-saving service and linkages to local community resources. Therefore, be it resolved, we, the Commissioners of Warren County, proclaim the month of October 2023 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge all citizens to observe this month by becoming aware of the tragedy of domestic violence, supporting those who are working towards its end. All right, those are all of the items on the consent agenda. We did want to add to that particular agenda, which is a contractual memorandum of understanding between Warren County and the SEIU Local 22B. This was for a specific purpose, to create a full-time position for the Veterans Office. Could I get a motion to add this to the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the amendment to the agenda with the MOU.
Second.
Okay.
I'd simply like to state briefly that as a matter of sunshine, this actually was advertised on a salary board meeting, so it is still still has been advertised as something we were going to take action on today.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. All right, nothing under new unfinished business. Now we're going to move on to new business. The first is approval of the Human Services Plan. Adam, could you share a little bit with us?
Yeah, so this year, as in, every year, we're required to complete a human services plan. We are continuing some of our old goals from previous years, which is a lot of recruitment, retention for professionals in the community, for our providers, and for our county government. We are looking to expand on a couple of other goals to where we're focusing on our strategic planning efforts and creating a larger collaboration alliance with our provider groups, and to advocate for consumers in our communities. Really, it's about creating a much more well and healthy community. So focusing on families is going to be one of our biggest objectives. Not that it isn't already, but we're going to take a few new kind of tactics, I guess, to it. Other than that, financially, the human services budget is in good standing. It will be, expenditures won't outweigh revenue coming in. So county match, it looks like for this year, is $199,000 if we were to expend everything, which we have not done that. I'm not sure. We haven't done it this year. Let's just say that's something. So outside of that, I think that the real plan here for this year is to continue to look at the gaps that we have in services and where people are falling through the cracks. Reduction in recidivism in jail is huge for us, and a lot of that is making sure that people are getting the drug and alcohol and mental health treatment that they need, so that when they leave, they can continue with their treatment providers and hopefully maintain. So that's about all I have. Any questions?
I move the approval of the human services plan.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The next item under new business is Tyler Technologies Module Addition. It's in your packet. We talked about it at the work session on Monday. The amount of 16 hours of consultant helping us to include this module in our accounting software so that we can track funds more efficiently and effectively. Could I get a motion to approve the module addition?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the Zelenovsky Axelrod LLC agreement. This is our auditor, and this proposal is for years 2023 through 2025. You'll see there the Warren County amount of $42,075 for Warren Human Services, $18,007 going up and through 2025. Lisa, any comments? I see this was proposed to you, and
Human Services was asking for all the budget work that they have to do because they're on the fiscal year versus the calendar year. So I didn't feel like we needed to go out to RFP for this, and professional services we don't have to use, and we're happy with the work.
we're happy with their work. Very good.
3% increase is pretty reasonable.
Yep, it is.
Move the approval of CNA's agreement.
Okay.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those signify in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, next item on the agenda is the RFP for roof restoration repair at the Warren County Jail. We reviewed this at the meeting at the work session. It's also been vetted by our solicitor. Could I get an approval to approve the motion to approve the RFP for jail roof renovations?
Move to ratify the RFP.
I'll second.
Very good. Any discussion?
For anybody who hasn't read it, essentially it involves a couple of things. One is the replacement of the chain link fence that's on the roof of the yard, where inmates go to get their yard time. It's on the top floor of the building. Currently has a chain link fence that's being or potentially replaced. This is, if we have a successful bidder on this, with a material that would not allow objects to pass through it, but will allow air into the space. So this would prevent anything coming in from the outside, which is always important. Also increases the security measures around the perimeter of the roof, including razor wire and other materials that would make it very difficult, even if you got through the membrane to the exterior, to get out of the hole above the roof structure. So I just wanted to make that clear, those types of, that's the scope of it. It is not outside of the roof, outside of the hole in the roof where the yard is, essentially. And by hole, I mean the space that's 40 feet by 40 feet that has air come into it so that people can be up there and doing their yard time. And because I know that previously there have been some questions when we had our press conference, I had made comments about reviewing the roof, that we had reviewed the roof for replacement, and I want to make it clear that when I made that statement, it was the rubber membrane that covers the entire roof and that would prevent water from getting into the building. That's what I was referring to as far as reference goes. That's what I have.
Very good. Any other discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And then lastly, approve application submission for the COVID-19 mitigation for counties program. This is a grant funding to apply. I saw that. Kim, could you just share a little bit about this with us, please?
So this is from the PCCD, COVID mitigation for the county jail. This will provide up to $64,000 of funding for any COVID mitigation. Warden has identified the AccuShield Shield equipment, which is basically a facial recognition similar to an iPad that'll take temperature, identify people entering, and do a survey of where they've been so we can track any future outbreaks. Other than that, this is retroactive to August 1st, 2022, so any funds that we would have spent for COVID can be recaptured for the budget. So we're looking at employee overtime and projecting employee overtime should that work into this year's cold and flu season.
Very good. Could I get a motion to approve this application for submission of this grant funding?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. I think that's it. Any commissioners' comments? Okay, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Just to be clear, we're adjourning because we don't have any more business, not because this gentleman showed up.